Okay, it is 10:05 a.m. and before I start, I just want to note something for any of you guys who are trading on E-Trade or at least using their platform to look at stocks. For the longest period, all of my trades had this thing right here. I guess this one has been cropped out. Let me find one that isn't cropped out. Probably this one. This one is not cropped out. This is the way my first screen used to look, and as you can see, there was always this big ugly thing right here, and I just tried my best to clean it up and not make it show anything, but I didn't realize that it was right here that you can actually remove it. And then there's this other one right here that I never had. So now my charts look so much nicer because it doesn't have that gap right there, and I'm able to have more real estate as well. So that's pretty nice in terms of that. And I just can't believe I haven't seen that until now. Now, I did have a trade here with MULN. It didn't work out. It was a losing trade, but I'm glad I had a small losing trade. I'm glad that, I haven't been like getting these nice trades. And then the first red trade that I get is like some big mega baboon red trade, just wipes out all my profits. It's not like that at all. This was a super speculative trade, and I was in and out very quickly. But the idea is that MULN is downtrending and it's trying to play off of this potentially support level that it can play off of and hold and maybe turn around, but that's clearly not the case. The momentum is just too strong. I could probably draw a trend line, perhaps, maybe something like this. Kind of lower it a bit, kind of play off the highs a little closer in this range, extend it, and yeah, it's still following that downtrending momentum, perhaps. And I did consider a long at 951, and I was in at 234, 235 basically at 951, which was right here, 951 at this, yeah, 234, almost 235 right here. Why? Because it was downtrending, it broke this trend line, and then it uptrended a little bit, and then it was trying to hold 234, so I decided to take a buy for that reason, and I thought that, best case scenario, it holds 234 and it continues the uptrend, maybe be the low here and this the first higher low, and ideally the goal will be VWAP and getting past it. That wasn't the case. When it broke 234 the next minute at 952, I cut it immediately. That was a quick trade. I only lost 62 pennies from that. And yeah, it didn't work out. It eventually broke the day low at 231 and it got as low as the 220s. And now I don't really want to mess with it anymore. And that's about it for that one. AMC was interesting. I did have an interest in that maybe it has this big spike like it did here, then it kind of comes back and plays off of the 3060 level right here because of this level and then bounce again, but it didn't happen. It broke under it. It broke under 30 as well. Then that 3060 level, and then it got really ugly, right? So at this point, I'm not too interested in it, but maybe actually not so bad because it's trying to play off of the original breakout level it had the other day. This might actually not be so bad. I'll continue to watch this. This could be a potential setup, but it is a listed stock. I have less experience with that. And as for DPLS, I have no interest in it right now. Maybe if it breaks the day low and it drops with a lot of volume, I'll be interested in it. But right now, it's not the case. AABV could break VWAP at some point and turn around, but I don't really want to mess with something like that. No interest with IQST. It did break past 60 and it did get as high as the 70s, which is nice, but if it had more volume, I would have traded it. I just don't like the way it got there. I'm going to remove this one, but yeah, that's about it. I'll make an update later. I'll be looking at AMC and maybe AABB, but probably AMC. Okay, it is 10:21 a.m. and I want to go over this with AMC since I did miss out on this one. It actually did play off in that it dropped and it held this original breakout level right here almost precisely to the penny, which is pretty interesting, and it did turn around. Maybe if I wasn't recording, I might have considered a long here, but that's fine. If it's going to sneak away from me that easily, then I might as well just let it be. But I was interested in it here, and it looks like a baby inverse head and shoulders. You could say this is the shoulder, the head, and the shoulder. And again, the idea would be to maybe consider a long if it looks like it's trying to do that inverse head and shoulders. Worst case scenario, you break it, around here. If it gets near the lows and it looks like it's going to break under it, ideally I would try to get out at its lows. If it looks like it's going to head that direction and break further, then to maybe risk it breaking the level and then cutting, because at that point it could be a halt like it had right here. This thing is known to do a halt. I just had one earlier today, and that's something I don't want to be a part of. So I did miss it here. I just don't like the way listed stocks trade. They're kind of back and forth, and then they just have like a big candle, and then it just keeps going, and then you don't want to chase it. And this is in theory maybe the second higher low, shoulder, head, shoulder, second higher low. Now I can do anything from here. Best case scenario, it goes to VWAP and it gets above it as well, but it doesn't have to do that. This was a setup that I could have traded. I missed out on it, and if I were to have traded, I think I would have had 3 shares, and that would have been a profitable trade. I would have made back my tiny loss with MULN too, which is fine. And all of this is fine in general because I'm not as good as, with this type of setup compared to OTC stocks. But I like the trading experience. I like the learning from it. But yeah, just very, not salty, but just unfortunate that I missed on this one. But that was interesting. And MULN, yeah, it is trying to turn back around, but I don't really want to mess with it anymore. It could be an inverse head and shoulders here, shoulder, head, and the shoulder, but not as clean as AMC if you ask me. I'll make an update later, perhaps. If not, I might close it off here. I don't see anything that I necessarily want to trade at the moment. It is 11:13, and I want to go over the second trade I had with AMC, and this was inverse head and shoulders. In theory, at the time, it was a shoulder here, a head, and then a shoulder here. And I did take a trade. It didn't work out, and when it didn't work out, I said, "Oh, that's too bad." And I did feel a little salty, but I only lost 30 pennies from that trade. And hey, if I can lose 90 pennies today and yesterday make $7. If I just add a zero, that seems like a really good trajectory. So it didn't work out, but now looking at it, it did do the thing that I wanted, just not when I got in, which is fine. At least I was on the right track, but ideally I can actually profit from it. I was in at 10:30 at 28.24, and that was with 3 shares. 10:30 right here at a really good price. Actually, no, 28.16. That was my limit, but I got filled at 28.16. I guess 17 at that price at, yeah, so right here. I was in right here, right on that wick at the bottom. So that was a pretty good entry. And I did sell 1 share, which I'm glad I did, at 28.45, because it would kind of like downtrend and then uptrend to the top of the range, which would be in theory the neckline here, and then it would downtrend and uptrend. So I did sell just 1 share at 28.42 at 10.32 in case that maybe this is the top and it's gonna downtrend, and that's exactly what it did. So I'm glad I had one sell there for a slight profit, and that made up the other 2 shares a little bit, so it ended up being just a tiny loss. And then my risk level was this 27.90 level right here, and I did draw a trend line. When it broke under the trend line, I thought, should I cut it here when it broke the trend line? But then I thought, no, I'll go to my original risk level. And when it broke under the 27.90 level, I got out at 27.87. The remaining 2 shares at 10.33, which was this candle right here. And even though it held itself together, sure, it did get to the 27.40s, and it could have had like a big nasty continuation, a really crazy red candle, and maybe halt. Maybe that's something that doesn't really happen with listed stocks around 11, at least on the downside. I just didn't want to take any chances. I cut it right when I got to my risk level, and what do you know, I did do the thing eventually. Now you can see the shoulder was here, not here. It ended up downtrending more and making the shoulder here, shoulder, head, and then the shoulder, the 27.69 level, and as high as 31. So that's definitely a 10% move. I missed out on it, but at least I was on the right track. And I don't think I want to trade anything else. MULN did kind of do one. Again, I guess a shoulder here, but I'm not trying to be crazy with inverse head and shoulders. And this one was interesting with AABB. Somebody bought Just 2,000 shares, and they had a print go as high as 11.5. And I thought that was just crazy. And I think that was just a way to play with the algorithms or whatever, if that even exists on OTCs. Because once that happened, people were starting to support it. And now it's been selling off. But just one little buy into 11.5 with 2,000 shares just made the whole price action here uptrend. And that was pretty interesting. And it did turn around. So that's pretty cool. But I don't know. I don't like the way it did it. And yeah, that's really about it. I don't think I'm going to have any more updates until the market is closed, but definitely on the right track. Unfortunately, ended up right today, but again, it was just 90 pennies and it could have been a lot worse. And at least I was on the right track with AMC here. Okay, it is 11:50 and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I am down on the day, like I believe 90 something pennies. I'll have to make sure and get the exact number, but that was with two trades with MULN and AMC. The first one with MULN was all the way back at 951, which this one did not work out. It didn't work out at least the way I wanted it to. It didn't hold that 234 level, and it did actually get as low as the 220s. It did turn around eventually. I don't mind missing this too much. And I did go for AMC, which did work out, just not when I was in it, with my buy at 951, which was right here. Actually, no, that's the wrong one. Right here, 1030. Right here, 1030 was my entry. And yeah, I thought this was going to be the shoulder. This ended up being the shoulder. And it did make that nice move from 27 to the 30s. It got to VWAP 2. Who knows, if I were to have traded this, maybe I would have sold right here under VWAP, or maybe like half, but that was a nice move towards the upside. I missed out. AABB, I do feel a little salty. I feel like I could have traded this one, but if it had more volume and more consistency, more prints, I definitely would have, but I just don't like how, you see the pattern, and then as you can see right here, it just has this random, tick right there way below, and it just seems a bit iffy. But in theory, this one was a really nice one as well. That's really about it. I'm not gonna nail all the setups. At least I tried, and I'm glad that I was on the right track once again. It's a red day today, a very small red day, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. At least I tried, and yeah, I just have to keep going, God willing. And once again, it wasn't too bad. A lot of good lessons learned.